Imagine stepping outside on a quiet night, expecting the familiar soft glow of the full moon, only to see something that feels impossibly rare, a moon rising in a way that almost feels unreal, wrapped in mystery and myth. You've probably used the phrase "once in a blue moon" 100 times, but have you ever stopped to ask what it actually means? Is the moon really blue? Does it happen once in a lifetime? Or is it one of those strange cosmic quirks that we talk about but don't fully understand? Tonight, we're diving into a celestial phenomenon that is far more fascinating than most people realize. By the end of this video, you'll see the night sky in a completely new way. The blue moon isn't just an expression or a poetic phrase, it's a moment when our calendar, our planet, and our culture all intersect rarely and beautifully. Before we explore the science, imagine how humans throughout history reacted when they looked up and saw a full moon appear more often than usual, or on the rare occasion when it actually took on a bluish tint. The sky has always been a storyteller, and the blue moon is one of its most intriguing chapters. In this video, we're going to break down what a blue moon really is and why it happens, revealing the truth behind the myths. We'll uncover the astronomical mechanics that create this rare extra full moon, the surprising mistakes that shaped our modern definition, the legends different cultures built around it, and the incredible moments when the moon genuinely turned blue because of massive natural events on Earth. By the end, you'll understand not just the science, but the magic, the reason this phrase has survived for generations and continues to capture our imagination. So, settle in, look up, and get ready to discover why the blue moon is one of the sky's most misunderstood and mesmerizing events. When most people hear the phrase blue moon, they picture something mystical, maybe a glowing moon with a blue tint or a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. But the truth is both simpler and more intriguing. A blue moon doesn't usually have anything to do with color. Instead, it refers to an extra full moon appearing within a specific time period. The modern definition, the one most people use today, calls a blue moon the second full moon to appear in a single calendar month. Since the lunar cycle lasts about 29.5 days, most months only have one full moon. But every so often, timing lines up just right, creating a situation where a month begins and ends with a full moon, giving us an additional one in the same month. That extra moon is what we call a blue moon, but there's another definition, one that existed long before the monthly version became popular. Historically, a blue moon referred to the third full moon in a season that unexpectedly contained 4 full moons instead of the usual 3. Each season traditionally had names for its full moons, especially in farming communities, and adding a surprise 4th moon disrupted the naming cycle. So they labeled that extra one the blue moon to keep their calendar organized. Interestingly, the reason we use the second full moon in a month definition today comes from a misunderstanding published in a 1940s magazine. Over time, that mistaken interpretation spread, got repeated, and eventually became the mainstream explanation. So when people talk about a blue moon today, they're often referencing a decades-old mistake that turned into accepted astronomy. That alone makes the blue moon special, a rare event shaped not only by our sky, but by our history, culture, and even a little human era. To understand why blue moons occur, we have to look at the rhythm of the lunar cycle. The moon takes roughly 29.5 days to go from one full moon to the next. Our modern calendar months, however, last either 30 or 31 days, with February being the exception at 28 or 29 because these two cycles don't align perfectly. We end up with leftover days, little pockets of time that gradually accumulate. And every once in a while, those extra hours add up to enough time for a full moon to squeeze into the beginning and end of the same month. This mismatch between lunar time and calendar time is the only reason the blue moon exists. It's not a special astronomical event on its own. The moon doesn't speed up or slow down, and nothing unusual happens in space. Instead, the blue moon is a byproduct of how humans decided to measure time. Our calendar isn't based solely on the lunar cycle or the solar cycle, but a mix of historical conventions that evolved over centuries. And because of this imperfect system, the moon occasionally appears one extra time, creating an event that feels rare and magical. Seasonal. Blue moons happen for the same reason. A season is roughly 3 months long, which usually fits 3 lunar cycles neatly. But because the numbers don't divide evenly, some seasons end up containing 4 full moons. To early cultures who relied heavily on lunar calendars, especially those who used moon phases to track agriculture and religious events, this extra full moon needed its own label, and so it became known as the blue moon. In a way, the blue moon is a reminder that nature doesn't bend to our calendars. The sky follows its own schedule, and every once in a while we're lucky enough to see the beautiful results of that cosmic misalignment. The phrase, "once in a blue moon," has become a universal way to describe something incredibly rare. But scientifically, blue moons aren't quite as elusive as the saying suggests. On average, a blue moon using the modern monthly definition appears roughly every 2 to 3 years. It's uncommon, yes, but not something you'd experience only once in your lifetime. In fact, if you paid attention to the lunar calendar, you'd likely witness several blue moons over the span of just a couple of decades. So why does the phrase sound so dramatic? Partly because the pattern isn't predictable in a quick, simple way. Blue moons don't follow a fixed annual schedule. You can't just say, every 3 years on this exact date. The timing shifts based on how the lunar cycle overlaps with our calendar. Sometimes 2 blue moons can occur in the same year, usually one in January and one in March, something that happens about once every 19 years. Other times, several years pass without one at all. The seasonal blue moon, the older definition, is slightly rarer. It occurs roughly every 2.5 years on average, similar to the monthly type, but the pattern is less familiar to most people. Because seasonal tracking isn't part of everyday life anymore, the phrase, "once in a blue moon," didn't originate from exact scientific rarity. Instead, it grew from the idea that seeing more than the expected number of full moons felt unusual, even unsettling in ancient times. An unexpected full moon could disrupt farming schedules, religious ceremonies, and calendars. Over time, people associated this extra moon with rarity and oddity. So, while the blue moon isn't astronomically extraordinary, its cultural weight and linguistic symbolism have made it feel much rarer than it truly is, a perfect blend of science and human storytelling. Throughout history, the moon has inspired myths, poetry, rituals, and even fears. And when an unusual moon appeared, whether it was an extra one in the season or one with an unexpectedly strange hue, ancient people took notice. The blue moon became surrounded by stories that reflected the hopes, fears, and imaginations of different cultures. In European folklore, the blue moon was sometimes seen as a moment of heightened intuition or magical potential. Some believed wishes made under a blue moon carried extra power, traveling faster to the heavens. Others thought it was a time when the boundary between the physical and the spiritual was thinner, making dreams more vivid and messages from ancestors easier to receive. In other regions, extra full moons were viewed with caution. Some farming societies believed a blue moon brought unpredictable weather or signaled a shift in seasonal patterns. If your planting schedule depended entirely on moon phases, an unexplained extra moon could feel like nature warning you of something unusual. Across various cultures, the moon was often linked with fertility, renewal, and cyclical energy. An unexpected full moon sometimes symbolized abundance, more light, more time, more opportunity. In contrast, certain traditions saw it as an omen that routines would be disrupted, a sign to prepare for change. As time passed, the idea of the blue moon evolved from myth into metaphor. Poets used it to describe rare love, unreachable dreams, and fleeting moments of beauty. The phrase became woven into language, symbolizing the idea that some experiences, though uncommon, are worth waiting for. These stories remind us that the blue moon isn't just an astronomical event, it's a cultural mirror. It reveals how humans have always tried to interpret the sky, searching for meaning in the rare and unexpected. Although most blue moons have nothing to do with color, there have been moments in history when the moon genuinely appeared bluish to the naked eye. These rare events didn't happen because of anything unusual on the moon itself, but because of dramatic conditions in Earth's atmosphere. One of the most famous examples occurred in 1883 after the massive eruption of Krakatoa, a volcano in Indonesia. The explosion sent enormous amounts of ash and debris high into the atmosphere. These particles were just the right size, about 1 micron in diameter, to scatter red light while allowing blue light to pass through. For months, people around the world reported seeing the sun appear lavender at sunset and the moon glow with a bluish tint. It wasn't a poetic description. It was a real optical phenomenon caused by volcanic dust. Similar events have happened after other major eruptions, such as El Chichen in 1982 and Mount Pinatubo in 1991. Even, large forest fires can create the right conditions if the smoke particles are the correct size. These atmospheric changes don't happen often, but when they do, they can temporarily shift the color of the moon, creating a breathtaking and eerie visual effect. The key point is that the blue in these moments depends entirely on the size and concentration of particles in the atmosphere. Too small or too large and the effect disappears? The conditions have to be nearly perfect, which is why a truly blue-colored moon is far rarer than a calendar blue moon. These rare-colored moons have fueled legends, inspired art, and sparked curiosity for centuries. They remind us that our view of the sky is shaped not just by space, but by the constantly changing world around us. And when the moon does turn blue, even for a night, it becomes one of the most unforgettable sights in nature.